So China is struggling and the larger business environment is not helping. It's tough to operate in. Business leaders across the world are tightening their belts. This year began with mass layoffs. We are halfway through it and the layoffs are not ending. Earlier it was the technology players. Now banks and advisory firms have joined the layoff wave. Goldman Sachs is firing its top officials. It will ask 125 managing directors to leave, 125 MDs. This is across departments, offices and countries. So why is Goldman Sachs firing senior talent? Because they're unable to generate new business. Reports say the company has faced a deal slump, so 125 managing directors have been asked to go. What's the overall situation like? Well, bad, to put it mildly. In less than a year, Goldman Sachs has ordered 3 rounds of layoffs. Last year, some positions were eliminated. In January this year, more than 3,000 people were laid off, and now managing directors are facing the axe. Then we have advisory firm KPMG. It's on the same boat. KPMG has seen, or rather is seeing, its second round of layoffs. More than 1,900 people are being let go of in the US offices. 4 months back, they laid off some 700 employees. Third on the list is brokerage firm Robinhood. They too are slashing jobs. 7% of their full-time staff is set to leave, 7%. What about India? How are Indian companies faring? Well, not spectacularly, I'm afraid. They too have been hit by this layoff wave. Indian companies are slashing jobs just like the rest of the world, and the IT sector is the worst affected. So far in this financial year, almost 5,000 people have lost their jobs. More than half of these jobs were based in Bengaluru. It's the IT hub of India, and Bengaluru has seen a sharp dip in hiring too. In fact, this month, there was a 7% dip in hiring. So basically, companies are hiring fewer people and firing many. And by all indications, this trend is here to stay for a while. So companies are also moving into smaller offices. They're leaving bigger spaces. And the result is this: a record number of offices are now empty. In the US, office vacancies have touched the 20% mark, meaning 1 in 5 offices is vacant. In cities like San Francisco, Dallas and Houston, vacancy rates are as high as 25%. In London, about 14% of the city's floor space is empty, 14%. In Hong Kong, about 13 million square feet of office space is vacant. These numbers could get bigger. More companies want to shrink their office spaces. Earlier this month, a global survey came out. 347 top companies were part of the survey. Half of them want smaller offices now. 2 reasons why. Number 1, fewer employees are coming to office. Many are still working from home. And number 2, companies have a reduced headcount. Many people have been fired, so they don't really need big offices. Now, this has led to a new problem: bank defaults. Landlords are unable to pay their debts. Defaults in commercial real estate is on the rise. Leading property giants have defaulted, like RXR, Columbia Property Trust, and Brookfield Asset Management. And what's the value of their debt? Well, I don't have a number, but experts say it runs into billions of dollars. One of the developers I mentioned is RXR. Earlier this year, its chief executive spoke out. He said they're unable to lease some of their properties, so they're resorting to some extreme measures. In fact, let me quote from what the CEO said back in the month of February. With some of those, I don't think there's anything we can do with them. Give the keys back to the bank, and you've got to be disciplined about it. And that's what they did. Handed the property over to the bank. Last month, they gave up a 33-story office building in Manhattan. The loan on this property was worth $240 million. So RXR decided to default. And this points to a larger trend. The global economy is in a slump. Now, we've seen a slowdown before, but this one's different. It comes after a life-altering pandemic. It may change our jobs and our offices irreversibly.